Have you ever had a door slammed in your face and thought it was the end, only to realize later it was the best thing that could have happened? What if rejection wasn't a setback, but a secret push forward from the universe? Today, we're diving into how every no you hear could be the hidden path to your biggest yes, inspired by none other than the Stoic philosopher, Marcus Aurelius. Picture this: you're trying your best. You show up, put in the work, speak from the heart, and still, you get ignored, overlooked, dismissed. It stings, doesn't it? That moment of rejection can feel like the world is closing in. But what if I told you, it's not closing in, it's clearing the way? This isn't just wishful thinking. This is ancient wisdom made modern. The Stoics believed that rejection isn't something to fear, but something to use. It's not about pretending it doesn't hurt, it's about turning that pain into power. Because sometimes, the universe's no isn't punishment, it's redirection. It's a force pushing you away from what was never meant for you, and towards something greater. So if you've been feeling invisible, undervalued, or like you just don't measure up, it's time to flip the narrative. In this video, we're unpacking 13 hard-hitting Stoic lessons that will help you harness rejection and make it your fuel. Not vague theory, but real-world tactics you can apply today. And hey, if you've ever needed this message, chances are someone else does too. So go ahead, tap that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell. It helps YouTube know that what we're building here matters, and it helps us keep bringing you more of it. Now, let's begin this transformative journey together, and turn your rejections into the very victories that define you. Lesson 1, ignore them. When life hands you the cold shoulder, don't shrink. Rise. Choosing not to engage with those who dismiss you is not pettiness, it's power. It's you saying, I am worth more, without ever raising your voice. But here's the key: don't just ignore them, rise above by focusing on something far more powerful, your own life. Because the best way to respond to being overlooked isn't revenge. It's redirection. Redirect your energy to your goals, to your passions, to the people who actually see your worth. You don't need to prove anything to those who ignored you. You don't need to post more, shout louder, or chase their attention. That's not strength, that's desperation wearing a mask. True strength is quiet. True strength looks like you picking up a book that expands your mind. Like learning a new skill, challenging yourself physically, or laughing deeply with people who actually appreciate your presence. And the beauty? You're not doing it to get back at anyone. You're doing it to get closer to yourself. Sometimes, yes, it does sting. That silence, that cold shoulder, it can echo louder than words. But the Stoics didn't tell us to pretend the pain isn't there. They taught us to use it. Let their silence fuel your progress. Let their indifference be the fire that sharpens your sense of purpose. You're not just surviving rejection, you're rebuilding a fortress of self-worth, brick by brick. And every brick you lay says, I know who I am, I know what I deserve, and I choose not to give my energy to anyone who doesn't. That's not arrogance. That's clarity. That's power. Because your value, it doesn't drop just because someone else was blind to it. Diamonds don't lose value in the dark. Stay centered. Stay true. And let your calm confidence echo louder than their absence ever could. Lesson 2, don't react emotionally. Let's be real, rejection hurts. It digs into the soft parts of you. It makes you want to shout, slam the door, prove your worth in some dramatic way. But here's the Stoic secret weapon: calmness. When someone brushes you off or treats you like you're invisible, the emotional reflex is strong: anger, sadness, frustration, doubt. That wave can feel overwhelming. But the Stoics, they knew something we often forget: your emotions are not your enemy. They're signals, not commanders. You don't need to stuff your feelings down or fake a smile. But what you do need is space. Space between what happens and how you respond. So next time someone makes you feel small or insignificant, stop, pause, breathe. Ask yourself, why does this hurt so much? Is it really what they said? Or is it that little voice inside, the one already doubting your worth, that just got louder? Most of the pain doesn't come from the rejection itself. It comes from the story we tell ourselves about what that rejection means. And that's where your work begins. So here's a simple tool from the Stoic playbook: when you're ignored, don't spiral. Don't seek immediate validation. Just breathe. One deep breath. Then another. Feel your feet on the ground. Reclaim your presence. Let stillness return before you act. Because calm doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care more about your peace than their opinion. Let's pick up where we left off, in that pause. That quiet breath after rejection. That's where something powerful happens. The moment you realize, this moment doesn't define you. It's just that, a moment. It's not your story. It's just a sentence in one chapter. And it doesn't decide your worth. The Stoics teach us something profound here: don't obsess over what others do. Don't dwell on how they behave. Focus instead on the only thing that's ever truly in your control: your response. So, when someone doesn't reply, when they give you silence instead of kindness, you don't have to mirror that energy. You don't need to sink down to coldness or resentment. You can rise, with grace. Stay polite. Stay kind. Not for them, for you. And if you feel the urge to reach out, do it. But do it with sincerity. With genuine concern. Not with silent expectations hiding behind every word. This doesn't make you weak. It makes you wise. You're not being passive, you're being powerful. Because when you choose calm over chaos, when you act out of principle instead of impulse, you take the wheel. You don't hand it over to someone else's mood. You say, my self-worth is not up for negotiation. It's not dependent on how someone treats me today. That's a game changer, and a life changer. Adopting this mindset? It's not easy. At first, it might feel like holding your breath underwater. But give it time. And you'll realize something: when you master calmness in the face of rejection, you're not just surviving. You're evolving. You're building an inner peace so rooted, so steady, that not even the coldest shoulder can shake it. You're no longer chasing validation like a shadow, you're standing in your own light. And here's the truth: that kind of peace, that quiet confidence, it's magnetic. People are drawn to those who remain grounded, who don't crumble when they're ignored, who don't chase noise to feel seen. So the next time rejection comes, see it for what it is: not a stop sign, but a redirection. You're not just coping. You're thriving. You're becoming someone who doesn't beg for doors to open, you build new ones. Lesson 3, remove them from your mind. Because now that you've paused, now that you've found your center, it's time to move forward. And here's where the art of detachment comes in. One of the sharpest tools in the Stoics kit. Detachment doesn't mean pretending it didn't hurt. It means refusing to let the pain live rent-free in your mind. It starts with honesty. Acknowledge the sting. Feel the hit. But don't let it fester. Think of your mind as a ship. And rejection? It's a storm. You can't stop the waves. But you can choose how you sail. You're the captain now. And your course is forward, not circling the past. We just learned the power of letting go, not as forgetting, but as freeing. Now, let's take that freedom and point it somewhere new. Because the storm of rejection doesn't have to sink your ship, it can steer it toward new, unexplored horizons. Imagine this: rejection isn't a dead end. It's not a locked gate. It's a detour sign, a subtle redirection, nudging you down a path you wouldn't have chosen on your own, but one that leads to growth you never expected. So how do you transform rejection into something valuable? You begin by shifting your perspective. When someone turns you away, don't turn on yourself. Instead, turn towards something that builds you. Pick up that book you've been putting off, the one that stretches your mind, challenges your thinking. Or try a new sport, something that pushes your limits physically and mentally, reminding you what you're capable of. Better yet, find a cause bigger than yourself. Volunteer for something that gives back. Offer your time where it matters. These experiences aren't just temporary distractions, they're doors. Each one opens you up to new ideas, people, and parts of yourself you didn't even know existed. Because every new experience, every challenge taken on after rejection, is a stone laid down on the path of your self-discovery. You start to realize, you're not just surviving the rejection, you're expanding. Becoming more resilient, more adaptable, more you. And here's another powerful move: surround yourself with people who lift you up. Find that inner circle, the ones who don't just clap when you win, but who challenge you, stretch your thinking, and celebrate your efforts. Share your goals with them. Ask about theirs. Grow together. That environment, where everyone's lighting each other's fire, it's fertile soil for reinvention. You don't just bounce back. You rebuild stronger. Because rejection? It doesn't define your worth. It reintroduces you to you. Lesson 4: Demonstrate your value. Yes, rejection stings. It scrapes the pride. But it also does something remarkable: it puts your resilience to the test. It asks, "What now?" And your answer? Don't shrink. Don't stew. Shine. The next time you're passed over in a meeting, skipped for a promotion, or left out of the conversation, take a breath. Right there. Instead of letting bitterness build, do something few expect. Channel that energy into something powerful. Take on a new project. One that lets your talents speak for themselves. Or better yet, raise your hand to lead. Not to prove someone wrong, but to prove to yourself that your value was never theirs to measure. Because the truth is, your worth isn't reduced by someone else's oversight. It's revealed by what you choose to do next. So, show up. Not with anger, but with quiet, undeniable excellence. That's not reaction. That's leadership. So what happens after you've demonstrated your value but still feel dismissed? You've shown up. Stayed composed. Kept growing, yet the recognition never comes. This is where a deeper truth takes root: rejection isn't the end of your story, it's the turning point. Think of that old saying: when one door closes, another opens. It's not just a motivational quote to hang on your wall. It's a map, a guide, a call to shift direction with purpose. Because rejection? It's rarely about your true worth. More often, it's the universe giving you a nudge. A subtle redirection, away from what's draining you, and towards something that's more aligned with your passions, strengths, and potential. Let's say you didn't get the promotion. Or you were left out of the team. That stings. No question. But what if, instead of spiraling, you paused and asked, where am I truly needed? What have I outgrown? And what's calling me next? Use that moment to reassess and realign. Reflect on your strengths, your real, unique assets. Maybe it's time to pivot. To step into something that uses your gifts more fully. Rejection becomes your fuel. A chance to write a better chapter. This doesn't mean pretending to be fine. Don't paste a fake smile over disappointment. Stoicism doesn't teach us to suppress emotions, it teaches us to face them fully. Then act with wisdom. So go ahead, feel what you need to feel. Sit with the sting. But don't live there. Move forward with grace. Because here's the Stoic secret: control the only thing that's ever really yours, your actions and your reactions. That includes showing empathy. Yes. Empathy. For yourself. First. Maybe you're hurting more than you expected. That's okay. But also, maybe that colleague who passed you over? They're battling their own unseen insecurities. Maybe their behavior says more about them than it ever did about you. Extend understanding, not as weakness, but as a sign of how strong you've become. Because the person who can forgive, reflect, and grow, that person holds the real power. This is how you rise. Like a phoenix from the ashes of rejection. Stronger, wiser, more resilient than ever. Rejection doesn't write your ending, it sharpens your evolution. It's not the villain in your story. It's the twist that reveals the real hero, you. Lesson 5, Cut off contact. Sometimes, moving forward requires more than emotional growth. It requires space. True silence, intentional, clean, and firm, isn't about ghosting or playing games. It's about protecting your energy. It's about closing the loop. Not out of spite, but out of self-respect. And now that you've risen above disappointment, silence becomes your most unexpected source of strength. Especially when you're dealing with rejection, silence is not weakness. It's wisdom. Picture this: someone ignored you, dismissed you, or left you hanging. Your gut reaction? Probably to fix it, to reach out, to bridge the gap. But here's where you flip the script. You pause. You embrace silence. Not as a punishment, not as a game, but as a strategy, a choice, a quiet declaration that says, I do not need to chase what's not meant for me. Because when you choose not to respond, not to bombard them with messages or late-night texts, you're not just stepping back from them, you're stepping back into yourself. That silence? It's not empty. It's full of power. It's space for you to breathe, to reflect, to remember that your worth isn't wrapped in someone else's approval. It's your reset button. And this silence isn't passive. No, it's active and intentional. It's where you pull your energy back, where you sharpen your focus, where you pour time into your goals, your well-being, your passions, the things that fuel you, not drain you. Imagine it like this: instead of running into a burning building, you step outside, into clear air. You choose peace over panic. You choose boundaries over begging. And here's the truth: setting this boundary doesn't make you cold. It makes you whole. You're saying, I care enough about myself not to chase what's retreating. That's not just stoic, it's empowering. It speaks louder than 1,000 words. In a world where everyone expects instant replies, your silence is mysterious. It's bold. It says you're not desperate. You're not defined by one interaction. You've got a life, a full, vibrant, meaningful life, that goes on with or without this person. And maybe, just maybe, they notice. Maybe your silence makes them curious. Maybe it forces them to respect you. But even if it doesn't, you've already won. Because you didn't fold. You stood firm. You chose dignity. This isn't about hoping they crawl back with regret. It's about showing yourself, and the world, that you are solid, centered, whole, and ready for what comes next. Lesson 6, Prove them wrong. Now that you've claimed your silence and held your ground, it's time to turn that inner fire into fuel. Because nothing speaks louder than action. After the silence comes the fire. Not a fire of rage, but of purpose. Because now it's time to act. To prove something, not to them, but to yourself. You see, rejection isn't just a bruise to your pride. It's a challenge. A spark. A chance to look within and ask, what am I truly capable of? Let's say someone doubted your talent, maybe they said you weren't skilled enough, creative enough, smart enough. That moment? It stung. But instead of sitting in that sting, you let it ignite you. Because this is your chance. Not to win their approval, but to push past your own limits. So, you dive in. You practice. You study. You grind. You do the late nights. You make the mistakes. You get up again. And slowly, almost without realizing it, you become exceptional at what once seemed impossible. Not to shout "look at me," but to quietly build something undeniable. This is the power of transformation through action. It's not flashy. It's not loud. It's focused. Imagine someone once called you uncommitted. What do? You don't argue. You just keep showing up. Every day. With consistency. With quiet discipline. Until your actions echo louder than any words ever could. Or maybe they saw you as uncreative. So, you start that project, paint that canvas, build that app, write that book, not to prove them wrong directly, but to prove to yourself that you are capable. And in doing so, you rewrite your own story. This journey isn't about revenge. It's about redemption, the kind that happens from the inside out. Because here's the truth, when you raise your standards, when you demand more from yourself, the world has no choice but to respond. People start to see you differently, not because you changed who you are, but because you finally allowed the best version of you to take the lead. The greatest victory isn't making others regret doubting you. It's waking up one day and realizing, you no longer doubt yourself. That's the kind of confidence no rejection can shake. Lesson 7, go out and have fun. Because once you've started rising through the fire of growth, it's time to remember another part of life, the joy after pushing through growth and silence. It's time to let the heart breathe again. Because healing doesn't just come from progress, it comes from joy. And sometimes, the most powerful response to rejection is to laugh, to live, to play. That's right. Joy isn't a luxury, it's strategy. When the sting of rejection tempts you to retreat, to sulk in silence, you do the opposite. You move toward light. You move toward life. It's not about pretending you're not hurting. It's about refusing to let pain be your only narrative. Try this, revisit a forgotten hobby. Something that used to light you up. Pick up a guitar. Lace up your running shoes. Paint just for the sake of it, not for perfection, but for peace. These aren't meaningless distractions. They're your personal rebellion. A message to yourself, I still deserve to feel good, no matter what happened. Even better, share that joy with others. Humans are wired for connection. And in the face of rejection, community becomes a powerful lifeline. Call up a friend. Go for a hike. Host a board game night. Attend a local class. It doesn't have to be extravagant, what matters is presence. In every shared laugh, every exchanged glance, you're reminded, I belong. You're not defined by the job you didn't get or the person who didn't choose you. You're part of a much larger story. A beautiful, messy, human story. And the chapters written with friends, with family, with strangers who become companions, those are the pages that strengthen your spirit. Now here's where the real magic kicks in. Step into the unknown. Try a new cuisine. Visit a street you've never walked. Take a workshop on something totally outside your comfort zone, pottery, salsa dancing, digital design. It might feel odd at first, but these moments, they're where transformation happens. Not just distraction, but expansion. Every new experience shapes you, stretches you, and builds a version of you that's more resilient, more open, and more alive. Because the goal here isn't to forget the rejection, it's to outgrow it. And joy, connection, and curiosity, these are the tools that help you rise. And as we keep rising, we arrive at a crucial point: boundaries. The next lesson is about when to say enough, and how creating space is not shutting down, but standing tall. Step into your presence. And that starts with building your social value, not in the shallow sense of popularity, but in the deeply personal sense of purpose. Picture this: you walk into a room and no one notices. You're there, but you feel invisible. That stings. But here's the twist: Stoicism invites us to see this as fertile ground, not failure. It's not a punishment, it's a prompt. A prompt to shift the focus inward, and begin strengthening from the inside out. Forget chasing approval. Let's talk about enhancing you. Start simple: build your body, sharpen your mind, and deepen your skill set. Whether it's improving your fitness, learning a new language, picking up a creative hobby, or pushing forward in your career, each effort adds weight to your presence. These aren't just self-improvement checklists, they're statements of intention: I am becoming someone of substance. And when you start growing like this, something magical happens: you stop needing to be seen, and people begin to notice anyway. But don't keep your journey in isolation. Share it, not to impress, but to connect. Talk about the book you're reading, the challenge you're facing, or the small win you achieved today. When you speak from authenticity, you'll naturally attract others walking a similar path. This isn't about building a fan base, it's about finding your tribe. Now take it a step further: volunteer, network, contribute. These aren't just career moves, they're ways to weave your growth into the world around you. When you show up in service of something greater, you're not just gaining social status, you're gaining meaning. And that's the Stoic way. Because real social power isn't about being admired. It's about becoming valuable, first to yourself, and then to others. When you focus on becoming better, not louder, you build a quiet strength that ripples into every room you enter. So, ask yourself, what kind of energy do I want to bring into every space? What kind of example do I want to set, when no one is watching? That mindset is your foundation. That consistency is your credibility. And from there, you don't need to chase attention. You earn it. You've begun building a presence that's strong, quiet, and deeply rooted. But what happens when someone still chooses to ignore you? When despite all your growth, their silence lingers? Here's where the Stoic mindset sharpens into something even more powerful: detachment. 9. Act as if they don't exist. This isn't about being cruel or dismissive, it's about preserving your peace. Sometimes, the most powerful reaction is no reaction at all. Imagine you're at a gathering. You spot the person who's been ignoring you, brushing past your efforts, pretending you're invisible. Instinct may tell you to approach them, to break the silence, to win back their attention. But wisdom says otherwise. Instead of chasing validation, redirect your energy. Turn to someone who smiles when they see you, who welcomes your presence. Engage with them. Laugh. Connect. Show up fully where you are truly seen. Because your value isn't a vote, it doesn't rise and fall based on who acknowledges it. It simply is. In settings where you must interact, work, meetings, mutual events, maintain grace and professionalism. Keep interactions polite, concise, and neutral. No bitterness. No games. Just quiet strength. You don't need to match their coldness, but you do need to protect your inner climate. You're not avoiding them to be petty. You're creating space for clarity. You're saying, without words, I don't need to perform for your attention. That's not arrogance, it's emotional maturity. And if the pattern continues, if they persist in treating you like background noise, then it's time to embrace the most liberating Stoic principle of all, the power to walk away. Not out of anger, not out of defeat, but with calm, with dignity, with direction. Sometimes, silence isn't emptiness, it's elevation. It's a boundary made visible. And by choosing to disengage from a one-sided dynamic, you're not losing anything, you're gaining freedom. You're moving your energy toward relationships that give, not drain. Toward conversations that nourish you. Toward futures where you don't have to beg to be seen. Let them go. Not to hurt them, but to heal you. Because peace isn't passive, it's a decision. One you make every time you choose presence over drama, self-worth over performance, and calm over chaos. And the truth is, when you act like they no longer exist, you make space for the people and opportunities that truly do. 10. Give them the silent treatment, Stoic Lifestyle. Now, don't let the phrase mislead you. This isn't the cold, manipulative kind of silence. This is something far deeper, something wiser. When someone brushes you off, when your presence is met with a blank stare or a closed-off heart, your instinct may scream for resolution. You want to speak up, demand clarity, seek justice. But here's what Stoicism whispers instead: choose silence, not to punish them, but to protect you. This is not about playing games. It's about elevating your emotional state beyond their reach. Stoic silence is not passive, it's powerful. It doesn't mean you're bottling up your emotions. It means you're giving them space to settle, to be understood rather than just felt. Think of it as a sacred pause. In that silence, you begin to listen to yourself. You get to ask the real questions. Why does their behavior affect me so deeply? Is this pain coming from them, or something unresolved in me? What can I learn about my own expectations, my own identity? This quiet isn't shutting down. It's opening inward. And in that inward gaze, you find clarity. Maybe you realize you were placing too much value on someone else's opinion. Maybe you see a pattern you've repeated for years, always chasing approval where it's withheld. Maybe, just maybe, you begin to detach, not from the world, but from what was never serving you. That's the mastery Stoicism offers, the ability to stand calm in the storm of someone else's indifference, and still remain whole. And as the silence deepens, so does your strength. You stop reacting. You stop needing them to validate your presence. And that, ironically, is when you become unforgettable, not to them, but to yourself. Because the man who can sit in silence and grow, is the man who can walk into any noise and stay unmoved. Silence, when chosen with purpose, isn't about withholding love or playing mind games. It's about strengthening your foundation, redirecting your energy, and elevating your response. It's not destructive, it's deeply constructive. You're not avoiding conflict out of fear. You're rising above it out of wisdom. This is what it means to align your responses with your principles. When you remain silent, let that silence be infused with purpose. Let it say, I've heard enough. I know who I am, and I don't need to engage to prove it. You see, silence is powerful only when it's conscious. When it's a decision, not a reaction. When it's not about freezing someone out, but tuning yourself in. In a world that often praises noise and instant reaction, Stoic silence is radical. It's rare. It's strength. You're not choosing to stay quiet because you don't know what to say. You're choosing silence because you've said enough, with your dignity, your restraint, your peace. And that brings us to one of the most empowering principles of all. 11. Don't beg for attention. There's a quiet ache that comes from being overlooked, whether it's in a conversation, a relationship, or a crowded room. It tempts you to raise your voice, wave your hands, do something, anything, just to be seen. But Stoicism teaches something very different. When someone ignores you, it's not your cue to perform louder. It's your invitation to turn inward and stand taller in your own worth. You don't chase. You don't plead. You remember. Remember who you are. Remember what you bring to the table. Remember that your value doesn't need to be validated by someone else's fleeting attention. Because the moment you beg for acknowledgement, you hand your power to someone who hasn't earned it. Instead, anchor yourself. You're not a product on display, hoping to be chosen. You're a whole, breathing, evolving human being, with depth, with dreams, with dignity. So what do? You channel your focus into passions that fulfill you. You engage in your goals with energy, curiosity, and joy. Not to prove a point, but because you deserve to live fully, with or without their applause. You meet new people, not to replace those who ignored you, but to expand your world. You create, build, learn, not to impress, but to express the richness of who you are. This isn't passivity. It's a bold, beautiful act of self-ownership. Because here's the truth. The most magnetic person in the room isn't the loudest. It's the one who knows they don't need to be noticed to know they matter. And when you live that truth, when your life is overflowing with meaning, movement, and self-respect, indifference loses its power over you. When you reach a point in your life where your sense of growth, peace, and happiness begins to flourish from within, something remarkable happens. The craving for outside validation starts to fade. It doesn't vanish overnight, but it steadily loses its grip on you. The opinions, reactions, and attention of others, once so loud, become background noise in a life that's already rich and full. So instead of chasing fleeting approval, invest deeply in yourself. Not just in accomplishments, but in values. Not in curated impressions, but in authentic evolution. Build a life so aligned with your own principles, so grounded in what fulfills you, that external praise becomes a bonus, not a necessity. Your confidence? It will radiate, not as something forced, but as something earned. Your self-assurance? It won't be a costume for show. It will be the byproduct of consistent, meaningful growth. This is the Stoic approach in action. It's not just about dealing with rejection, it's about transcending it. You stop letting it define you. You start letting it refine you. Each moment of being overlooked becomes a sharpening stone, strengthening your character. Each no becomes a redirect to something better. And each internal victory whispers a quiet truth: you are enough. And that brings us to one of the most elegant lessons in Stoic emotional mastery. 12. Be kind, but emotionally distant. Yes, you can be both. Even when faced with cold shoulders, unanswered messages, or averted glances, choose kindness. But let that kindness come from a strong, steady place inside you, not from a desperate plea for warmth in return. You're not being cold. You're being clear. When someone ignores you, it's natural to feel the sting, to want to retreat, or lash out, or desperately seek to repair what's broken. But Stoicism teaches something far wiser. Smile. Offer a polite greeting. Wish them a good day. But do it with no strings attached. Your kindness isn't a currency you're exchanging for attention. It's a gift. One that reflects your values, not their behavior. And here's the key: while you show up with grace, you also protect your inner world. Emotional distance isn't about building walls to keep people out, it's about building boundaries that keep your peace in. It's saying, I will act with integrity, but I will not hand you the keys to my emotional well-being. You don't need to harden your heart. You just need to hold it in your own hands. So the next time someone's indifference tries to pull you into frustration or self-doubt, remember this: you can be kind without being vulnerable to harm. And that, right there, is the art of Stoic grace, responding with compassion, yet rooted so deeply in self-respect that no rejection can shake you. Let their indifference never shake your foundation. You're not giving someone power over your emotions just because they chose silence. That's not strength, it's surrender. And your journey? It's far too sacred for that. This path, of kindness paired with emotional distance, isn't weakness. It's wisdom. It's a masterstroke of Stoic grace. You remain open, not exposed. You offer warmth, but protect your flame. You interact with gentleness, yet stand firmly rooted in your emotional sovereignty. That's not just emotional intelligence. It's maturity. It's balance. You're not controlled by other people's indifference. You're defined by your own response. And that makes you unshakable. Now, as we step even deeper into the Stoic way, there's one final posture that will elevate your strength in silence. 13. Don't reveal your struggle. Rejection hurts. Indifference stings. But Stoicism teaches us this powerful truth: you don't have to show it to grow from it. When someone shuts you out or overlooks you, the urge to make your pain visible can be strong. You want them to see what they've done, to know how deeply it cut, to witness your struggle. But here's what the Stoics would say: your dignity is not a show. Strength doesn't always roar. Sometimes, it quietly persists. You don't have to fake a smile or bury your emotions. That's not what Stoicism asks of you. But you also don't need to broadcast your wounds just to be validated. Instead, let your inner steadiness speak for itself. Wake up. Get dressed. Pursue your goals. Smile when it's real. And let your life move forward, not as a performance, but as proof of your resilience. This isn't suppression. It's self-governance. You acknowledge your feelings privately, but you let calmness, direction, and grace lead your public steps. Let this be your reminder. You don't need to post about your pain to process it. You don't need to prove you're okay to be okay. And you certainly don't need others' reactions to measure your worth. Instead of seeking sympathy, seek strength. Instead of explaining your struggle, show your perseverance. Because when you remain steady in the face of invisible battles, you're not just surviving, you're silently thriving. You become a mirror of emotional maturity, a quiet force that reminds others. True power doesn't always announce itself. And with that, we prepare to enter one of the most liberating Stoic insights of all: how to turn rejection into gratitude. Herb emoji, the philosophy of emotional resilience, final reflections. This isn't about hiding what you feel. It's about something deeper, mastering what you feel so it doesn't master you. Emotional resilience doesn't mean you don't hurt. It means you learn how to carry pain with dignity. How to walk through rejection without losing your center. It's a quiet strength, a calm defiance that says, I am grounded. I am whole. I am not defined by how the world treats me, but by how I choose to respond. And that is the true mark of a Stoic soul. What you've built through these 13 powerful lessons isn't just a response plan. It's a philosophy for living. Each no you face from this day forward becomes something more. A brick in the foundation of your resilience. A spark in the fire of your character. A gentle nudge from life asking, how strong are you willing to become? We've journeyed together through the unexpected power of rejection. Not as defeat, but as fuel. Not as an ending, but as a beginning. And now, I challenge you. Don't just listen to these truths, live them. Test them. Apply them. When someone overlooks you, pause. When you feel dismissed, breathe. When you're tempted to react, respond with wisdom instead. Because every rejection is a lesson in Stoicism. An invitation to go deeper into your strength, your stillness, your self-awareness. So, what will you do with your next no? Will it define you? Or will you define yourself? If this message resonated with you, even just one sentence, don't keep it to yourself. Right pointing finger emoji, hit that subscribe button to join a community of quiet warriors, thinkers, and builders of inner peace. Bell emoji, tap the bell so you never miss a lesson in mastering your emotions. Speech bubble emoji, and share your story in the comments. Tell us what you've faced, what you've learned. Or simply type strength in adversity to say, I'm here. I've grown. I'm ready. Your voice fuels this mission. Your presence strengthens this space. Together, we're not just talking about Stoic wisdom. We're living it. So until next time, remember, rejection may visit you, but it will never own you. Because you've learned to rise above it. With poise. With purpose. With power. So, if they rejected you, let them. If they walked away, don't chase. Because your value was never meant to be proven to those who couldn't see it. You don't need to scream to be heard. You don't need to fight to win. Just stand in silence, with dignity, and let your actions speak volumes. Remember, the way people treat you says nothing about who you are. But the way you respond says everything about who you're becoming. You are not here to beg for attention. You are here to master your peace. And if you're still standing after rejection, betrayal, or heartbreak, that's proof of your strength. That's the real victory. If this message spoke to your soul, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who needs to hear this today. Subscribe now, because your Stoic journey is just beginning. And together, we rise, one rejection at a time.